What it do, cuckolds? It's your boy the Hater, and we're gonna do a video today about how everything is falling apart for WWE. Let's be honest, the writing's on the wall. Okay, so I was watching something. I think it was the SummerSlam itself, or maybe it was just a random ass commercial. But the commercial said that WWE SmackDown is moving from Fox to the USA Network. Now, for those of you that don't know how TV works, Fox is the number one network on TV, right? This is just undisputable, right? They get more ratings than anybody. The only one that comes close that might actually surpass them would be like NBC and CBS. Everything else, like USA, TNT, these are like lower level, like, B tier channels, right? So, like, think about it this way. When was the last time a world beating show came out on USA Network or TNT? Like, it's never happened. You know what I mean? On Fox, you get like House, for example, right? That's a massive show. There's a lot of shows and a lot of things that do very well on Fox because Fox just has a bigger viewership base because they, quite frankly, are just a more successful TV channel. So with that being said, and I'm not talking about Fox News because I know some people are like, that's conservatives. No, I'm talking about Fox, right? Which may lean conservative, but the shows don't. So with all that being said, cuckolds, right? SmackDown essentially couldn't hold their place on Fox. There was an interview with Lachlan Murdoch, who is the progeny, I think he's the son, maybe the grandson, I think he's the son of Rupert Murdoch, who's like a multi-billionaire. Basically, he like owns TV, right? And Lachlan said, he was like, look, WWE didn't meet the quotas. He was very straightforward. He was like, we are an ROI, which means return on investment based network, right? In other words, if you don't make the money that you told us you're going to make, you're fucking out the door, motherfucks. So Fox had the right to renew this 5-year deal, and they didn't. They were like, oh, we're parting ways. They didn't get it done. They were also upset. He threw in something to make them feel better. They're like, they were also upset because like we didn't give them enough replay value. Yeah, because they have other shows. You know what I mean? They're not going to replay SmackDown. They have more important shows that draw way better. So there you have it. You know what I mean? SmackDown failed colossally on Fox, right? This was a gargantuan disaster. No one's going to talk about it, but the reality is they thought, both WWE and Fox, thought that WWE would draw a lot of numbers for Fox. It didn't. They got a primetime slot, right, on Fridays, which is not as primetime as, let's say, Mondays, Tuesdays, or Wednesdays, but it's primetime enough, right, or even Thursdays. But it's primetime enough because it's from 8 to 10, and they couldn't get it done. They're drawing like 2 million people, right? Like, reruns of Golden Girls draw like more than that, So there you have it. Colossal failure uno. Colossal failure number 2, right? The Netflix deal, motherfucks. The Netflix deal, even though this is presented as this big deal, I think it's going to eventually turn sour, right? Netflix also has an option to renew the deal, and they probably won't. Because at this point, Netflix is gargantuan. They are bigger than WWE, right? They don't need WWE. Like, Squid Games Season 2, when it comes out, is going to outdraw WWE by every metric, right? And another thing is this. When you turn on Netflix, you have infinite options at your fingertip, right? It's not like TV where you have to go find the channel and you deal with the commercials, right? How are they going to do that? The only way is if Raw has no commercials. Because if Raw has commercials on Netflix, nobody's watching that shit. You mean to tell me, I can watch Raw with commercials, or I can press like 3 or 4 buttons and watch like the entire, all seasons of like a massive TV show with no commercials? I think I'll do that instead, cucks. Nobody's watching this shit at this point, right? This is more of an experiment and a foray for Netflix to enter live streaming, right? Which is the one thing that they've failed on, right? Other places have done this, like Peacock, for example, does live streaming with WWE, and that's what they did. They used WWE to set up their live streaming, right? Like, okay, now we're gonna do the Olympics, which is like obviously gonna like the Olympics this last month and a half. Not even. It's like 3 weeks. 3 weeks of Olympics, or whatever, not even 3 weeks, right? 2 weeks of Olympics outdraw more than like WWE does in like months. So with that being said, it's not working out, right? The only thing they got now is sponsorships and merchandise because these deals are going to fail. When SmackDown moves to USA Network, nobody's going to give a shit about that. It won't draw more. It'll probably draw way less, right? And all of this can be attributed to shitty booking, right? The release of Vince McMahon, because in case you guys don't know, the way that these business deals work is you need someone called a key figure, right? You get key insurance for someone who's a key figure, right? For WWE, the key figure is none other than Vincent Kennedy McMahon. Just like, for example, for UFC, it's Dana White, right? Once Dana White leaves the UFC, there's going to be a drop, a big time drop because they got to find the next Dana White, right? That guy is the one who puts everything over, who makes things happen, right? So when Fox signs a deal, they're like, oh, part of the deal was Vince McMahon is doing this shit. You know what I mean? Not Triple H. What the fuck? I'm not like, we're going to hedge our entire network on whether or not Triple H learned the job well enough. Fuck that. Beat it. Go back to USA. Take a step back, cucks. That's exactly what happened, right? Netflix is going to do the same. The deal's already been signed, so they can't back out of it probably. And I'm sure they don't want to because they've calculated. They're like, oh, we're probably going to take a big loss on this, right? But it's going to get some eyes, right? And over time, we might be able to recoup our cost plus move into streaming, right? Because this is going to be huge. Like right now, you can go to Netflix and you can't stream anything, right? And it's January's around the corner, so it looks like Raw might be the first thing they do like this. And that's huge, right? That's huge. But think about how far we've fallen, right? We've fallen down big time, motherfuckers. Shit is hitting the fan. Now, I would be remiss if I didn't discuss how else shit has hit the fan in the context of the wrestling product. First of all, we've got the Cucky Rhodes title reign. This title reign has bored everyone to sleep. Nobody cares about SmackDown anymore. I don't even remember half the time that SmackDown is on Fridays. Like it'll be like 8 o'clock on a Friday, and I'll be like, I'm gonna go out with my friends. Like I forget completely. Like typically I don't watch it, but like recently I've been starting to, because I've been doing the reviews. But I forget. Sometimes I'll do it the next day or something, right? I'll watch it on my phone. Like this Friday, my friend and I went to the casino. I busted out early. I lost all my money, like a douchebag, right? I'm not even gonna get to like that again. It wasn't a crazy amount of money, but nevertheless, right? So I was there waiting for my friend to finish losing his money, right? And I started watching SmackDown on my phone because I was bored. You know what I mean? But think about that. Like even then, I would like skip almost everything. There'd be a commercial because I was watching it like semi-live. So I would like close the Hulu app, open it again, right? So I can watch it live without the commercial. And I did this like several times to skip all the commercials. But the point I'm trying to make is that nobody is compelled by any of this. Nobody's going to tune in and see Andrade versus fucking Carmelo Hayes and say, I want to keep watching this. Nobody's going to do that, right? So you're not going to get any new viewers. Forget about that. You know what I mean? What's going to happen when Roman Reigns actually does retire? Like Cody Rhodes is like going to be in his 40s. Who's going to like lead the company, right? Braun Breaker, I mean, he's great, but like he's never going to be this massive John Cena-esque draw. Like he's just not, So with all this being said, it's like, what can we do? On the other side of the bracket on Monday Night Raw tonight, look forward to the Monday Night Raw review, cucks. Tonight, we have the in-ring debut of the Wyatt Six. This is going to be some overproduced bullshit. No one's going to care. They're obviously going to win. And once again, the mystique will be gone. Because once you realize, oh, this is fucking Joe Gacy and Dexter Lumis, they look like regular dudes, you're going to be like, oh, that's it? Like, I don't care anymore, right? At least with Luke Harper and Eric Rowan, it was these two big monsters. So you're like, oh, maybe I'll look forward to seeing them next week destroy some other jobbers, right? But is anyone ever going to look forward to next week to see what Joe Gacy does? I highly doubt it, And, we've already spoken ad nauseum about Bo Dallas and how this guy cannot lead anything, let alone like a faction like this, right? I mean, maybe he can. Maybe he can lead this faction because this is a jobber faction. So, like, it's kind of weird. But keep in mind, this is the guy that was like a lackey for The Miz. This is a guy that was like the third or fourth most important guy in the Social Outcasts, led by Heath Slater. And now he found worse jobbers than Heath Slater to be in his faction. And I'm supposed to take this faction seriously? Nobody will. In 6 months, this shit's fizzling out. Like I said, I called it. 6 months after their debut, their in-ring debut, it's done. And you mark my words. 6 months from tonight, it's a wrap. Nobody's going to give a shit about these guys. They're not going to be on pay-per-views, right? Maybe in the beginning, but they're not going to be like, people are like, oh, it could be them versus the Bloodline at fucking War Games. Zero chance. There's no way that both Dallas and Joe Gacy are main eventing Survivor Series. You know what I mean? Then again, I did say there's no way Sosikoa should be main eventing, and here we are, right? But the point stands, right? Nothing to look forward to. This episode of Raw promises to be pretty exciting, mostly for the, Finn Balor, Dominic Mysterio situation, right? And obviously Liv Morgan situation. But beyond that, it's like, I don't give a flying fuck. Like, does anyone care about the boring-ass promo that Gunther's is gonna cut? Because he's gonna cut a promo, and he's probably gonna be interrupted by like a Sami Zayn or something. You know what I mean? Because he needs a new challenger. It's not gonna be Damian because Damian now has other issues. So it's like, who's gonna be his challenger? Who else is left? There's nobody left. Drew McIntyre, maybe, but I doubt it because I just don't see that happening. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't seem like his feud with CM Punk is over. CM Punk cannot challenge Gunther because quite frankly, that's just silly. You know what I mean? CM Punk has like bigger feuds now with Seth Rollins and Drew McIntyre. So think about that. Gunther is the champion in a show where there's like 4 or 5 people that are above him in terms of like prestige and abilities as well, right? And these people are feuding with each other for nothing, right? Meanwhile, Gunther is the champion of Raw. So shit is hitting the fan. It's going to be all downhill from now. You know what I mean? Now, WWE is essentially too big to fail, right? Even the shitty Triple H booking is going to have limits. You know what I mean? So the machine is going to keep going. And there's always going to be hope that, the next guy or gal to take the reins can steer the ship in the correct direction. That's always possible. And there is a small percentage of a possibility that, Triple H, under the Netflix deal, like they don't have like censorship and things like that, right? They can work something out with Netflix where they can have people curse and maybe make it more like TV unfriendly, right? Because it's on Netflix. But at the end of the day, this is not a step forward. This is a step backwards, right? They're presenting the Netflix deal as a step forward. It's a lucrative deal, right? But that's why Netflix is paying so much money, right? It's not because everyone wants Raw. It's because Netflix needs Raw to scratch its own ass, right? And quite frankly, USA Network is like, oh, we don't really need this shit. Yeah, we've been fine without Raw. There's been stints where there's been no wrestling on USA Network, right? And USA Network they're not morons. They know that like Raw dips below 2 million. You know what I mean? And they're like, oh, this is the same show that we had back in the day that would get 8 million. Now you're at literally 25% of what you used to be. So there you have it, cucks. Like, you can say what you want. Oh, the ratings don't matter, but they matter to USA Network, right? At the very least, right? They matter to somebody. Maybe WWE is making money because people are watching on YouTube. But USA Network's going to be like, oh, fuck you. I want a piece of the YouTube. I want a piece of that action. They're like, oh, no, sorry, this is YouTube. Okay, fuck your mothers. Have fun on Netflix. We'll take SmackDown, see if that does any better, right? So the writing's on the wall. Colossal disaster, in my opinion, this year. Every wrong decision that could have been made has been made with the confidence of it being the right decision, and it's not. So with that being said, cucks, take care of yourselves.